So my name is Lenny Roche, and my husband and I are the founders and directors of Homes of Hope Fiji, Bulavanaka. Brief history of how Homes of Hope began. God called us here and we moved our family. We have 6 children, 3 adopted and 3 natural. And we moved here in August of 1997. And we had a bit of time before we were able to get our work permits. Okay, so there was a group of local businessmen here in Fiji that had wanted to start a Christian orphanage. And through a series of events, we were asked to come. And so we came with our family, my husband and myself and our 6 children. And we came in August of '97 to be directors of this Christian orphanage. And there were some issues with trying to get our work permits, and so during the period of time while we were securing our work permits, we did research, my husband and myself and our eldest daughter, and the research simply was just going onto the streets and talking to anything that related to women and children in poverty. And so we began by talking to beggars and prostitutes on the streets. We went into brothels and spoke to prostitutes there. We went into existing orphanages to see how they were operating and see if there was a need to do an additional orphanage in Fiji. We talked to the government departments and other non-governmental agencies, and we had street kids come up to our home and we did remedial education with them. And this went on for about 1.5 years. And finally what happened was God used the life of one beggar woman and her child, who was named Pinky, to really help clarify what God had really called us to come and do. And what happened was that this beggar woman was on the street begging when we first came, and her daughter was maybe 10 or 11 years old. And they would both sit there and beg with their hands out. And because it took us 1.5 years to get our work permits, by the time 1.5 years had gone by, Pinky had developed into a pre-adolescent and her body was maturing. And so her mother capitalized on that and started selling Pinky to taxi drivers for money for sex. And the mother was making a lot more money selling her daughter than she was just sitting on the street with her hand raised. And so when we watched Pinky over 1.5 years, God just really touched our hearts, and we realized that if we were able to work with a partial family unit, with meaning a single mother and her child, there's a lot more likelihood that we could make an impact on that child than if we were to just take the child in an orphanage setting, because of the stability and the bonding that happens even with just the mother and the father's absent. So through discussions with the board of directors that brought us over, we changed direction and we left the idea of being an orphanage because the existing orphanages were not too full and they were doing an adequate job. And so we began taking in young single mothers, and with the idea of changing the cycle of sexual exploitation and forced sex so that their children could live a life of freedom and not have to be caught up in the same cycles that their mothers were. So the very first girl that we took in was our guinea pig, and she and her 2-year-old son moved into our family's home. This was back in early 1998, and she had the 2-year-old, and she was 9 months pregnant when she came, and she was a Hindu and with a grade 2 education and no job skills, and she was prostituting herself trying to provide for she and her son. And the way that she became pregnant with her first son was that her mother had sold her to a Taiwanese sailor for $1,000, and the mother used that money to buy groceries. And so that her daughter, that girl, was trafficked by her own mother. So that girl moved into our family home, and we learned how to do Homes of Hope on her, and then other girls that followed soon after. And pretty much what we did was we just became a mom and a dad to her, and taught her things that every mom and dad teaches kids from a young age on up. And we just taught her how to change diapers, we taught her how to discipline children, we taught her how to brush her teeth properly, how to clean a house. She was a Hindu, so we taught her about Christianity. So it just went on from there. And eventually we were able to help tutor her through a university program, and she received a certificate in early childhood education, and today she's now a preschool teacher and doing very, very well. But because of that one girl and the girls that followed, they all had the same issues. They had not been parented themselves, and they were on some horrible cycles. Thus, their children would have ended up in those same cycles. So Homes of Hope has been birthed from and developed from girls just like those first girls that have come through the program. And now it is 18 years later, and over 500 girls and their kids have gone through the Homes of Hope program. Many are thriving, some have not done so well, but we're believing God to complete the work in all of them. And so Homes of Hope has two missions that God has called us to. One is the campus, the residential care home. We're registered underneath the Department of Social Welfare, and we're a care home that can take in young single mothers with their children who are under the age of 2 for up to 3 years, and we do very heavy restorative work with these girls. The second mission is work in the communities, and what we do in the communities is we're endeavoring to create a culture where women and children are free from the cycles and stigmas of forced sex. And in the Fijian context, the stigma of being a woman who's pregnant out of wedlock is just an incredibly difficult and painful stigma to carry, and it can last a lifetime, where these women are, they've lost any hope of being free from that stigma. So we're going into these communities. Right now we're working in 40 communities in the Suva area, greater Suva area. And we're going in and we're identifying gatekeepers or leaders within each community or village. And we're training these gatekeepers to be sensitized, to understand sexual exploitation and trafficking. And we're also giving them tools that they can use with their own people within the village. And the tools are trainings on good parenting, trainings on indicators that would indicate sexual exploitation or trafficking, so that they can identify either a girl or a boy, either one, that's vulnerable to sexual exploitation, or they can identify the things within their own community that lend towards the whole community being vulnerable at creating more sexual exploitation within its individuals that live there. And so we do trainings. We have 2 full-time project staff that go out into these 40 communities every day, and they work with these gatekeepers. They conduct awareness within the whole village and community, and they do this day after day. And slowly we're changing the culture. And at the end of the day, what our desire is to take work with individual victims, whether it be on our campus or out in the community, and have a place within their community that's been restored and has a healthy safety net, so that when that girl is redeemed and restored, she has a soft place to land when she goes back and she's reintegrated. So on the campus, the restorative part of what we do, when a girl first comes to campus, she's referred to us either by word of mouth or by the media or social welfare. We'll refer the churches, the hospitals, the police. So we get girls in a variety of ways. But when she comes, we will do an assessment with her. And if she's pregnant, we help her with prenatal classes and teaching on labor and delivery. We talk her through adoption if that's something she wants to do. If she's not pregnant and she comes with a child already, we'll assess the mother and the child. We'll get them through health checks. We'll de-lice their hair and treat their scabies and impetigo and all the infectious diseases. And once we're through the initial checks and screenings, Then the girls enter into our 3-year program. And the 3-year program consists of vocational job skill training. We teach the girls on how to make virgin coconut oil. We teach them how to sew, how to make paper beads for jewelry. We teach them hospitality in our guest houses. And these are all, and also how to bake and how to cook and how to sell it. And these are all skills that can be transferred to other jobs out in the community, or they can have their own business at home. So we do vocational training, we do counseling with these girls. Most times when a woman or a child is a victim of sexual trauma, it takes a lot of counseling to bring the pain and the brokenness that's been locked on the inside out so that she can see it and deal with it. So counseling is a real integral part of our program. And we also do, we call it our university, and we have a 3-year teaching program that we do with these girls. And pretty much how it's laid out by a year at a time. And the first year, we teach just the basics on life, so it's life skill teaching. And that would include basic Bible doctrine, that would include basic child care, that would include basic health and hygiene, basic financial care. So we go through, it's just a very overview, very basic set of courses that these girls go through every day for the first year. The second year starts to build on that and goes more in-depth, and we begin to introduce the concepts of, if God brings a man to you who's a godly man, then this is what you look for in a godly man, and this is how you run a family according to the Bible. And then the third year is the final year, and that's where the girls learn banking. They open up their bank accounts, they learn about investment, they learn about budgets, and they create a budget, they create a CV. So all of this takes place, and it's an incremental learning process that we do with the girls. And we also try to expose the girls to visitors when they come on campus, whether it be local visitors or overseas visitors, for the purpose of helping the girls develop their people skills and their confidence. If they were to go for a job interview, the girls need to know how to look someone in the eye, how to address a question directly. And so this is a process of helping bring restoration to the girls. And during all of that, and during the entire 3-year process, we're also working with the family back home, because Fiji's not just a nuclear family, it's the whole extended family. And so if the girl is healthy and restored, but the family is still broken over what happened through her forced pregnancy, then her going home will not be safe. So we also do work with the families. We do family reconciliations, we do counseling with families, we'll do parenting teaching with families, and we help establish if that home is safe for the girl to go back to for reintegration. Part of the vision of Homes of Hope is to create the campus here for the use of our girls locally, but also to have it be a training campus for other island nations in the region. And we have had various people from Solomon Islands and from Malawi, East Africa, come and stay here to learn how we do the restorative campus, how we run our uni, how we do our different programs. And everything that we do it with the intention of making it so it can be replicated. So we have hard copies of documents and programs and policies that we just give freely to people that come here and train. Recently we were asked to speak and to share our restorative program with 4 other island nations. That was Samoa, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, and Kiribati. And Fiji by far is much more advanced than these other nations as far as understanding sexual exploitation and having laws and policies in place to deal with it. These other island nations have not even begun. So we were able to share what we do, our small piece of the pie, what we do as far as when a girl is withdrawn and she comes to our campus. And it lended to a lot of questions within these nations, and hopefully we'll see some good fruit out of that. But currently we're working very hard in the Solomon Islands, and they have now established a group of people and a charitable trust over in the Solomon Islands who is beginning to do the same work that we're doing here. And so we're assisting them with all of the groundwork so that they don't have to spend as much time as we did developing it all.